I think that people might not like the word selfish, but people also need to realize that when you are selfish, if you're thinking about other people or what they're going to think, if you are selfish, you will actually show up better to the other people in your life.
Yeah.
Because you're taking the time for yourself, because you're creating boundaries, because you're pursuing what you want to pursue and following your dreams, because you're standing up for yourself. All these things, if you start to put that love into yourself, and I had a very big problem with this for a very long time as well, but if you start to put that love into yourself that you pour into other people, and you will show up for those people better and yourself.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life? Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
Like, she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Talented actress of my latest short film, Lady of the Night, Iman. Heather, what's going on? How are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. I'm doing well. How are you, Daniel?
Iman, it's been a minute. I'm doing well. You know, we're now out of the pandemic. I think last time we were shooting, you know, we were kind of dealing with lockdowns and what have you. But now I feel like we're finally free of that. So I'm just kind of enjoying summer. I'm just trying to enjoy, like, you know, everything that's kind of coming my way. Would you say the same for yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I just went skydiving yesterday to celebrate my birthday, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, right, that's right. Happy belated birthday. What are you, 25 now, right?
Yeah, 25.
That's amazing. Well, that's a great way to celebrate, right? Jump right out of a plane. It reminded me of my cousin, day before his wedding. He actually jumped out of a plane. So
really?
Thank God he landed safely. It sounds
amazing. I know. That would have been
I don't think that's the best time to do it, but you know what? That's the point of being reckless, right? Changing the game. But I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. Like I said, I find you very talented. We worked together on this project, but obviously I knew you beforehand because you were referred to me by another friend of mine, mutual colleague, Eric Tomjay. And yeah, you hit it off. You served justice to the role of Jen. You know, you enjoyed the script as well. So I'm so happy to talk about it more in the podcast, you know, why you selected the role, what spoke to you about it. You know, the last time I had you here on the podcast, you were promoting a project called Fire Escape. Do you know the status on that by any chance, now that I brought it up?
I don't actually know. I haven't. I met Alana briefly. The last time I did, she said that it was being edited. So I think it was the final cut.
Okay.
But then I think she might have gone to Bali or something. So I have to reach out to her and see what's going on with that. But I'm excited to see it. I hope it comes out soon. Because yeah.
Yeah, of course. I smile because I got a DM from Iman a while back saying, is Lady of the Night ever coming out? And we forgot to keep you in the loop because me and Nabil are the co-producer.
Yeah, it's true. I was like, what's going on with that? No, I like to keep up with the projects that I have and stuff. Just
for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's your every right. I'd be the same way, being proactive about it. But going back to that, you know, when we were discussing Fire Escape, you were on the podcast. You know, I was just so impressed by your talent. You know, you had like this poise to you as an actress, and these are the things I was explaining to you. What I was looking for, particularly in the character of Jen. You know, someone that's broken, fragile, but you know, through her eyes, like through the window of her soul, you see that she has a good heart, and that's something that you definitely picked up on. So when we were working together, I enjoyed that we had several talks about how, you know, we were pursuing our goals and the experiences of our creative journeys. And I want to know from you now, why did you choose to become an actress?
Well, there's so much to answer to that question. I'll start with, I guess you could say, kind of surface reason. I always knew I was the creative type, as you might call it. I always knew I was very right-brained. You know, when I was younger, actually, I loved to sing when I was a little girl. Nice. And I was good at it, and then I kind of lost my voice along the way, which is fine.
Right.
And, I loved painting, doing arts, and all of that fun, creative stuff. But I don't think that I necessarily had the resources around me to tap into that, because I did grow up in the Middle East, where art isn't really respected as it is in somewhere like North America. And so I I always knew that that was there, but I didn't really, as I said, tap into it as much. And I think I just kind of, took drama classes and did whatever. And then I thought, maybe I'll do law or something, or I was kind of
So
now.
this wasn't the reason why I asked this, because I'm always curious. For myself, I told you with film, like I have always believed, and I still do, that it's a calling, right? Like it's something I was put here to do, just the way my brain's wired. Do you feel it's the same, or do you feel this passion kind of this like it discovered you, rather you discovered it, like it found you?
I kind of like both. So what I was saying, what I was getting into was that
Right.
then I was, sidetracked, thought, oh, maybe I'll do law or something. And
Mhm.
then law. And then I remember in high school and I was talking to a friend on the phone, not even like a really close friend, but just a friend. And somehow acting came up. I was about 14 years old. This is a period now when we're deciding what you want to pursue for the rest of your life.
Right.
And so I was like, I don't know how acting came up, it just came up. And I remember I had to hang up the phone. And this is the only time something like this has ever happened in
Oh
my
my
life.
God.
But I had an epiphany. And I don't think I've ever had an epiphany. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, like it felt like a positive panic attack, like a good, I was hyperventilating. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to do. I have to be an actor. And it seems so random and sudden because, like I said, when I was like 4 to like 9, like I was into the, creative arts and whatever that meant. I played the piano, like I sang, like all this, but I didn't really think you could make a career out of it.
Yeah.
But and when I was on the phone, I was like, oh, I have to do this. And then, obviously there was trial and error, but here I am now. So that's what matters. And then the kind of, I guess you could say, unsurfaced reason is that I spent a lot of time as a child, kind of like alone, and I was very introverted, and I would often watch films, and that's how I kind of connect to the world. It would just be like I was obsessed with them. I was never much of a reader, which is funny because I am now, but I was obsessed with movies and just like all sorts of movies. And I remember watching it and kind of feeling like, wow, this exists, and I was cooped up in this apartment and in a completely different world from this world where art is like hugely appreciated, which is what I love about Canada or North America. And I was like, wow, and I remember feeling so connected, and during a time where maybe my feelings weren't being validated,
Mhm.
I felt like my emotions and my feelings as a little girl were being validated by watching film or even TV shows or anything, and watching people and just learning behaviors from these people. And so I think that those two reasons kind of enmeshed the epiphany that came out of nowhere, which,
Yeah.
it's instinct, and you have to follow instinct. When instinct is that pure, you have to follow it. So yeah, it's kind of in the sense that like it found me,
Right.
but also I think it's something that brings me great joy to actively pursue whenever, even if there's times that I doubt it or whatever, I'm like, no, like I love this. It's the art for me. It's the fact that there might be a little girl out there like little Iman who I can connect to, whose feelings I can validate the way I needed my feelings to be validated. And it's just about connection, I want someone to watch something I'm in, even Lady of the Night, and be like, wow, I can kind of relate to that, or,
Right.
so.
Serving
yeah.
justice to the character as well. That's something that we discussed, right? Respecting the
Absolutely.
story. You
Respect-
said a lot of, you said a lot of interesting points. I resonate with a lot of them as well. It's kind of fascinating, right? When you talk to other artists, and this is why I do the podcast, is as much as we come from different places, right? Growing up in the Middle East yourself, me growing up in Toronto, two different countries and areas, I mean, where art is perceived, were very much alike. When I was a child, I was very introverted. I still am in certain aspects of life. But obviously I've improved, or else I wouldn't be in the position I'm in as a director. But I think that was always my kind of source of, I don't know, source of connection, source of discovery, where whenever I watch a film, I can kind of tap into that imagination or that fantasy of, who would I want to be, right? I think that's the power of storytelling. And interesting enough, when I write my films, whether they're male or female characters, I was explaining this to you about Jen and Lady of the Night. I always try to inject qualities of myself in every character, to make it as believable and authentic as possible. Because that's something that you were explaining to me, like with the dialogue, it really hit you hard. And I took a huge compliment from that because that's what I strive towards, right? It's all the characters when they speak and must be as believable as possible, especially if a woman, which I'm not a woman, but especially if a woman hears it, they'll
Yeah.
say they understand it, right? Like they would say something like that, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, whether it's a woman or a man, you might be able to implement parts of yourself in, you know, Jen, and it's relatable because human feeling doesn't have a gender.
Exactly.
Um,
And honestly, it's sorry, one second. Sorry, what were we discussing? No, exactly what you were saying about doesn't matter if they're a male or female, right? It's for me, it's about being authentic as possible, right? And respecting the story. Your journey into becoming an actress is, I think a lot of people can resonate, right? It's, you know, you don't really know what you want to do, but there's some sort of calling, right? There's some sort of constant feeling that you need to work towards this, right? To feel fulfilled. That's how it was for film, right? For me in storytelling. I want to know, like, as you were pursuing this journey, were your family, friends, peers, they were supportive of you or judgmental? Were they critiquing you along the way?
they were, I would say that the family members that matter to me have been very supportive.
Okay. Yeah.
And, you know, I've created a great group of friends since moving to Canada, which was only just a few years ago, who are a lot of them are artists themselves. So they're very supportive of artistry. Maybe some of the peers that I grew up with might not necessarily be supportive per se,
Right.
or weren't supportive back then, but that's because they weren't very aware of this world. So, you know, the friends that I'm with now, those are the ones that matter. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, talk to me about that. Like moving to Canada, what was that like? Why did you make that move? Is it for the arts particularly or for a better life?
well, I'm Canadian. I was born with I'm Canadian. My mom's Canadian.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like it was going to happen regardless, but I could have stayed in the Middle East, but I definitely wanted to come to act. Like I went to an acting school, and then I moved back, and then I came back, and the first thing I did was just like get an agent, do this, do that. So it definitely came to act and live, but
It just kind of happened.
yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, kind of, but acting was definitely the main motivator. It was like, okay, if I wasn't Canadian, I would probably have gone to Los Angeles, but
Right.
I'm Canadian, and Toronto is such an up and coming place for this. And I know that like acting is what I have to do. It's the only thing for me that I can like push myself to. And while I love all the arts, it's like acting has always been it, especially for the last few years. And so I was like, you know, I'm just gonna come here, and just shortly after the pandemic happened, but
Yeah, for sure.
it gave me a great opportunity to understand the city as well. So I guess both of them kind of co-align, coming to live and also coming to act.
That's great. And you were talking about people, so people that don't support you, I'm happy that you have that courage to still pursue your dreams regardless of that, because I can know that could be very discouraging, you know, to have people closest to you. Believe it or not, like, you know, my parents, that they were always supportive. I want to mention that, but there were times when, you know, they kind of doubted my dreams. And I think it's just through accomplishments, right? Perseverance that you kind of prove them wrong. Have you noticed those people kind of circle back in your life?
I think that those people in my life who are unsupportive are not really in my life for a reason.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But it's a bunch of things. But yeah, I think in your case, like I know like my mom has been very supportive of my dreams.
Right.
She's great. She's like the kind of person who's like, go after what you love, you know, and it's not going to be easy. You're gonna have to do this, but if you love it, you do it full, you know. But like, I know there are a lot of parents out there, family members out there who don't mean it ill intentionally. They're trying to look out for you because it's like a pipe dream.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to follow your own instinct and you got to trust yourself. And so those people who might not have been supportive of me, like it's a sense of, no, I believe in me, I support me. And even if at the time it might have affected me, clearly it didn't affect me enough to not do it. So, and here I am. And then the more you find yourself, doing things, going out there, booking things, you get this rush and reaffirmation that you're doing the right thing, and you use that fuel to just drive you.
All right, and we're back. So Iman and I took a short little break because we're experiencing one of the hottest days of the year, or at least I am. I think Iman is freezing where she is. But we're back to talk about our conversation. And, we were talking about, the fact that there's people that are supportive in your life. There's ones that aren't. And that's what every creative, any artist kind of experiences. For myself, I've kind of got over that by not only having conviction in myself, but also proving them wrong through the things I create, right? I'm a doer. I don't like to just talk about things. And the same could be said for yourself. But at the end of the day, we have to kind of just get to a point where we say, what can we do that's for ourselves and not for anyone else, right? We have to do it for ourselves ultimately. But having said that, with the people that maybe challenge you or judge you along your journey, there are always those that inspire us to achieve our potential, or at least give us that affirmation that it is possible. And as you know, from me, because I've discussed this repeatedly, Quentin Tarantino, he's my hero, and he's someone that as an artist represents the idea of being the rebel, right? He was outside of the industry. He came in and was able to make himself who he is today without having any film school, any film background, or any sort of wealth accumulated by his past family history. So what I want to ask you, Iman, is who are the people in your life, both either in the industry or outside of the industry, that inspire you to keep moving, keep hustling, and keep going towards your dreams?
So in the industry, I would say it's definitely everyone, everyone that is in the industry, I guess. Like I said, it goes back to when I was a little girl and I just watched whatever movie and I'd be like, wow, there's people like acting in front of us. And, it's everything. It's the crew, it's the cast, because I've always thought film is just magic. You literally have every possible art in a movie. It's crazy. It's amazing. So anyone, honestly, that's in this industry, that's pursuing this industry, especially anyone who's a person of color. It's hard enough to go into this industry, but being a person of color like myself and doing it is a whole other ball game, but good to those people who are doing it. And
Right.
so those people inspire me, those ones who have made it in this industry or who are doing it. It's like, you gotta follow your dreams. You gotta relentlessly go after what you believe in. And if that's a certain art that speaks to you, then you do it no matter what. And people close to me, there's definitely a couple people that are close to me, very close to me, who have been relentlessly supportive. I won't name names, they know who they are.
Yeah, shout out. So
Right?
there's no celebrities, no actresses, anyone that inspires you, to female or male, that you say to yourself, I can get to their caliber one day?
I would just say I never really thought of it like that. Like, you have Tarantino, which I
Right.
completely understand. But I don't think I have a Tarantino per se. I think it's just
That's
like
fair.
all these incredible creative people who I just look up to. And if I see a movie and if something speaks to me, then it'll be that. Like, I could name a bunch of actors and
Yeah.
actresses that I think are incredible, but then it wouldn't really be answering the question, because the question is more like, the answer to the question is more like, it's everybody in a whole.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, I can understand your dilemma in answering the
Or
question.
like, it's a collective thing. It's a
Yeah,
collective.
no, for sure. No, for sure. I relate to that, because when people ask me as a director, oh, so what's your favorite film? Because I always get asked that question. I can't pinpoint one film. I tell them like a list of them, right? That kind of make up who I am as a person or as an artist, really, collectively, like you said, right? So you don't pinpoint one person. But yeah, for me, as I've talked to you ad nauseum about it, Tarantino is like my inspiration. It's just I don't know what it is. Like, as I get older, as I get more serious about the career, I kind of look at how he became who he was, and I say to myself, that's such a great career path to follow. He became a brand, And whenever a film is out, you look forward to him. You look forward to what he creates, as opposed to sometimes the actors involved in them, or maybe the story itself. It's what came from the mind of Quentin Tarantino. So that's something that I aspire to. But I was curious, as for you as an actress, if you have those same kind of aspirations, right? But that's fair to say, like when you watch a film, you judge it on based on how it inspired you, and it's not dependent on who's involved in it. So I can respect that for sure.
I will say I will say though, to add to that, like
Yep.
one of the first movies that I remember as a kid being like, wow, to the actress, if that helps,
Yeah.
and made me connect was Moulin Rouge, Nicole Kidman in that as the teen. And
Okay.
that's still to this day one of my favorite films. I think
Right.
she's an amazing performance, and it just made me feel all these things. And maybe I was probably way too young to be watching that. I was like 8 years old, but
Right. We all, don't worry. I watched Goodfellas around that age too. That movie's definitely not for kids. But that's what makes us great artists, right? Is that we know great art at a young age. We start at a young age, right? So aside from your talent and your tenacity as an actress in pursuit of your dreams, I admire your sheer advocacy for mental health and well-being. And I really mean this. Like, you are unapologetic about it. You show people, how to take better care of themselves. You give them a window to your world, your routines. There have been some posts, I should say, that have inspired me just by looking at you. Go through your journey of well-being. One that comes to mind is when you wake up in the morning. You said something like you choose not to look at your phone for at least an hour, because that causes a heightened state of anxiety. And that's something that I've kind of through your like lesson there or other people's teachings, I kind of overcome that as well. It's very hard, especially in our line of business. We're always checking our phone. We always want to make sure if we're getting seeing our emails. You never know if work is contacting us or a potential client. But I think it's very important what you said, is that we don't immediately look at your phone. You have a morning routine, whether you meditate, you journal. Something I admire about you a lot, Iman, is the fact that you take a day for yourself and you treat yourself. Have you noticed that a lot? That you've been posting that a lot? Yeah. So speaking of skydiving, you posted in your caption that it was a belated birthday gift to yourself. Yeah. And I thought that was really, really sweet, really refreshing, really. Like that we take the time for ourselves. A lot of people don't do that. It's important to kind of do that for yourself. But you have consistently used social media not only as a tool to promote your artistry, but again, to provide positive affirmation and example of messaging for those struggling with their inner demons. Why are you constantly looking to improve your mental health and the mental health of others?
Why not?
Yeah, I know, right?
Right? Like,
A loaded question. Answer
yeah.
it. Answer it right.
But I mean, so I feel like going back to what you said about the morning routine and everything, I want to add this to what you
Yeah,
said.
for sure.
I have a new morning routine that I think
Okay, cool.
that is amazing, and it's so
Really?
cool. And
Nice.
I've told all my friends about it, and I don't think none of them have done it, but it's so great. So about in December, I started doing this thing called morning pages. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
Okay. Is that journaling?
Yeah, so it's journaling, but I know like people are like journaling, like
No.
and
You're talking to someone that respects it.
yeah, right. But I was always someone who was very contemplative of journaling, actually. Like I used to meditate, and I find this a lot more helpful. Like I used to wake up every day for 7 months and start my day with like a 10-minute meditation, which is amazing. Meditation is great. It has so many benefits. People doing it, do it. People who haven't done it should try it. But with morning pages, it's like, so this actor that I worked on a film with actually sent me this book called The Artist's Way.
Okay.
And Julia Cameron talks about this routine where you wake up, especially if you're creatively blocked. And at that time, I don't think I realized that maybe I was going through some blockage creatively. And so she talks about this daily routine. When you wake up, within like the first 15 minutes of waking up, you write 3 stream of consciousness pages called morning pages. And you don't think, you just write. And I know it sounds so simple, but I'm doing this every day since December. And sometimes I'm obviously busy. Like today, I could only do it. Like I had to come back and finish writing the pages, but
Right.
It's so cathartic in so many ways. I won't go more into it, but I want to go more into it, but I won't go more into it, but
Right.
definitely
Well,
try.
well, how has it helped you? This is what I mean by, maybe I should rephrase the question. Like, how has mental health served you to become a better individual? Like, have you noticed progress? Have you noticed changes in your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that awareness towards it, and back to your question about why I post about it, is because I think that being aware of mental health and removing the stigma around it, which is still great in places like North America, but growing up in the Middle East and South Asia, there was even larger stigma towards it.
Right.
No, there's no sense of appreciation towards mental health.
Taking
There's-
care of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
it's
people
like-
see it as, yeah, a lot of people see it as vulnerability, right? Like weakness.
and it's not.
Um,
Absolutely
no,
not.
it's not. There's a big stigma too, like a gender bias towards it. I've noticed it's getting better, but like what I mean by that is like females can talk about it, but not males. You know what I mean?
And that's, yeah, that's what I know I read about this as well. And that's the thing. It's like, it's both genders. We're both, I feel like men keep a lot of stuff in, for
Yeah.
instance, because there's stigma around it and society has deemed that it's not cool for a man to talk about it, and women
Right.
too. And it goes into genders, it goes into ethnic backgrounds, it goes into so many things, it goes into where you live culturally. That's why when I came here and I realized it's less stigmatized, people actually treat mental health like it's something, and it's nowhere near where it needs to be. But I think that it's really important we start to tackle that, because life is hard, life is great, but life is also very difficult. And the more we try and break down these walls that we've created around mental issues or whatever per se, and create this sense of community, of support, that if you have this, I have this, people have anxiety, people have trauma, people have this, there's nothing to be ashamed about, then we feel safer. And if I can do that in any way, I don't think I do it enough, but if I can do that on my platform in any way,
Yeah.
and that is very, that makes me feel.
Well, the reason why I bring it, if I can be really transparent with you, is like the reason why I bring it up is a lot of women and men, but particularly people our age, will post a glamorous, polished lifestyle. And what I mean by that, it's always going out, always looking their best. And, you obviously have photos of yourself, going out, going to restaurants, celebrating and things like that. But what's unique about yourself is I just feel this authenticity when you post those stories. It's like, that's what I meant by refreshing. Like, it's different, it's not like you don't hold back, you share that side of yourself. And that provides like more, I don't know, it gives you just more depth as a person, as an individual. You get my point?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Like you don't just see you as like the actress. There's like a human being there,
yeah, or the Instagram person or whatever, or the person we want to put up on Instagram, there's always this display, and this goes into the same thing. Thank you.
No, for sure.
But this goes into the same thing, that's why I've always said this: Instagram is a 1% world. It's not real. And you see what people want you to see, but you don't see a lot of it. You don't see me crying in my bedroom at 3 in the morning, or you don't see that. And you see this,
But I don't need it. But that's my point, is that I don't know you that well, as much as we're friends, right? Like, I don't know you as personally as maybe your friends do, like your closer friends. But I feel like when you post, that you journal, or that you're at like a Starbucks and, you're taking a day for yourself, or you're treating yourself on your birthday by skydiving. I don't know, like those things make me say like, she's a well-rounded individual. Like there's something more to her, and she also goes through things, but she's finding ways to overcome them. Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think that everyone needs to take days for themselves and do that, and be there for themselves. And I know life can get really busy and stuff, but I think, considering everything, I've really had to, as an adult, learn how to be there for myself, or be the best friend for myself, or be the parent for myself, that I may have needed at one point. And that means looking out for myself like no other. And I think I definitely want to spread that message to people, that if there's anyone out there who might relate to that, then the and I know it sounds so cliche, and I didn't understand this when I was younger. I used to always be into this kind of stuff, like self-care quotes, like loving yourself, working on yourself, like self-awareness. I read
Right.
about it. Some of my favorite books are self-help books,
Right.
but
Right.
I was always very into this. And I, you, I used to be like, oh yeah, love yourself, when I was younger and stuff. And I never really understood what that phrase means. And as I get older and older, I'm realizing more and more loving yourself is so much deeper. It's accepting yourself. It's meeting yourself with compassion. It's taking yourself out. It's learning to look at yourself in a very pure light, because you are not your mistakes. You are not this, you are not that. You are not what people said you were, or, whatever, perhaps when you were a child, or even now, you are beyond that. And I think the moment you start to really see and radically accept yourself as that is the moment that just
Life becomes real for you, right? Like life opens up.
yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I respect a lot of things you're saying. But one thing I want to add is, as much as maybe you don't want to see it this way, or maybe you should, is that self-love is selfish. You need to be selfish. This is something that as harsh as it may sound, I've kind of accepted over the past few years, because I've always been seen as, I still am, a good person, good-hearted, big-hearted, whatever have you. But I remember never really taking the time for myself to do the things that I wanted to do, right? Or really like claiming it for myself. And this goes back to my dream. My dream, I've been discussing it, since I was a child, since I was a little boy. Like, I always wanted to do it. And I always took the advice of others. I always took the influence of others. And I just got caught up in the wrong friendships and relationships. And when I look back on it, it's because I never really said to myself, like, took a stance and said, no, I want to do this for me. And that's what I go back to. Like, whenever I see you post, it's like, you don't need to always be posting you're with your friends. You don't need to always be posting that you're busy or doing stuff. You have no shame, or you have the humility, I should say, in saying, oh, I'm by myself today. I'm just doing my own thing, and you share that with the world, because there are people that are maybe self-conscious about doing something like that, or maybe they're insecure or unsure about being by themselves. They don't know if that's being alone or is that being lonely. And you prove to them that there's nothing wrong with having solitude. So yeah, that's just how I say it. I don't know why. I've been meaning to share that with you, because again, I thought that was really cool, that you show that side. Yeah, because it's vulnerable, but it's honest, and that's what we're here on this podcast for, is to be truthful and authentic.
Yeah, that's what life is all about. And it goes
Yeah.
back to acting, right? Like, we just as human beings, or at least I do as a human being, want to connect. I want to connect. I see people. I know that people have been through something. And okay, if I'm being completely honest, like the other day, I was spending a little bit too much time on social media, which is always not a good place to not.
Yeah, I hate that. Your
Yeah,
mind you just get lost. I know.
Exactly. And I like to, if I'm spending time on Instagram, I like to kind of gear it more towards how I can make my page better,
Exactly.
opposed to mindlessly scrolling. But I was mindlessly scrolling, and it exacerbates anxiety, right? And
Yeah.
so I just put my phone down, and I have this coffee table book that I love. It's called Humans of New York. I'm sure you've heard of it. The stories.
No, I haven't, but tell me more, please.
New York. Oh my gosh, Humans of New York is amazing. So there's
Humans
just
of New York?
this guy Brandon, like, would go around. I remember when I was a teenager, it was a huge thing too, and people would post it on Facebook, and he would just take photos of people and write caption, like they would say a story about themselves.
Right.
And it's real and it's authentic. So I put down my phone and I picked up this book and I just started reading stories. And I was like, this is what I want to see. I want to connect to people. I want to see their actual stories. I don't want to open my phone up and see, oh, this is on Instagram. This person, is
becomes redundant. That's my point, is that becomes redundant.
It does. I want to see people, their real stories. I want to see people taking themselves out on dates because they've had to be there for themselves.
That's how you word it. Yeah, that's taking yourself on a date. That was so new to me when you posted something like that. I was like, oh, I never heard of something. Take yourself on a date. Yeah,
taking yourself on a date.
Yeah.
That's actually why that actor sent me that book, is because I told him I do this. And he was like, oh, that's what Julia Cameron talks about. It's artist dates. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I
Or
already
buying
do that.
yourself gifts, right? Like I think you do that as well.
Yeah, I love to. I think
Yeah.
that when I look at back on my history and my life and everything, I'm still
Right.
like young, but when I look back at my life, I'm like, I've had to pick myself up by myself with some very difficult things, and I haven't given myself enough credit for that.
Amazing.
Gotta be
So
your best friend.
yeah, no, for sure. And we've discussed excessively like how impactful it was for yourself, like your experience sharing this cause, sharing this matter on mental health. I want to know, have you received feedback from other people? What's their experience been like?
I have, yeah, I've received some nice feedback. I think that people have found comfort in being able to open up to me because of those posts. I've had a couple people reach out to me, trigger warning, when they were suicidal and
Oh,
ask me
wow.
for advice and stuff. And so, of course, I did what I could, but I try to, and I try to just make it a safe space, no matter what. Like, you're not being judged,
Right.
and we're in this together and everything. And I think that I've created some friendships because of that, because of people reaching out to me, or because of my posts. And I want people to know they can message me if they need someone to just talk to, because I think in this world we don't realize that sometimes there are people out there who don't have people who think like us. And
No.
just even a stranger, like, back in the day would have been pen paling, but now it's just DMing. But even a stranger supporting that kind of, providing that kind of support can hopefully mean something and help that person in that time. But otherwise, yeah, I've gotten some good feedback, definitely. Hopefully I get to a point where I will inspire people to take themselves out more.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do things alone, because it's just fun.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely important to take time for yourself, right? Be selfish about it, as much as people don't like that word. You need to separate yourself sometimes from the good and the bad, right? If it's all about everyone else and all your time is dedicated to making other people's lives better, then you'll have no time for yourself to enrich it. And yeah, I like the idea that you create a safe space, an approachable one at that, right? It's not like you're just posting these pieces of content and then someone DMs you and you just never hear from them again. You actually take the time, as long as they're respectful, of course, to reach out to them, right? And say, hey, like, you're, like you said, they don't maybe have those friends in them surrounding them like we do, those pieces of support. So you can act as that, right? So I think that's very helpful and that's very important. So keep doing what you're doing with that. I feel like a lot of people are speaking to your message, and yeah, looking forward to how we can improve our mental health.
I do want to add to that something you said about the selfishness. I think that people might not like the word selfish, but people also need to realize that when you are selfish, if you're thinking about other people or what they're gonna think, if you are selfish, you will actually show up better to the other people in your life.
Yeah,
Because you're taking the time for yourself, because
of
you're
course.
creating boundaries, because you're pursuing what you want to pursue and following your dreams, because you're standing up for yourself. All these things, if you start to put that love into yourself, and I had a very big problem with this for a very long time as well,
Right.
but if you start to put that love into yourself that you pour into other people, and you will show up for those people better, and yourself.
No,
So
you gotta work on yourself, right?
yeah.
You gotta work on yourself before you can accept new challenges, before you can accept new love. You know what I mean? Like it's cliche, it's corny, whatever have you, but it's the truth. It's the reality. So I'm so happy you're on the same page about that. So thank you for sharing that, Iman, and keep spreading your message.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So getting back to the beginning of our conversation, we were discussing how I introduced you. You were the actress, Jen,
Yeah.
in Lady of the Night, my latest short film. And again, we are so happy that you took this opportunity. We are honored to be able to collaborate with you. You really served the role justice and you brought the character to life. So that's what I was looking for as a director. And you masterfully played the role of Jen, an abused woman with an abusive past with such strength and vulnerability. I want to know, why did you choose to portray this character once the script was sent to you?
Well, as I mentioned, you did a great job with the script.
Thank
I
you.
loved
Thank you.
it. I read it and it already spoke volumes to me. And I saw a very interesting character in the sense that she was someone that other people might have otherwise judged just for like a glimpse kind of look.
Yeah.
Even that I'm not gonna lie, like parts of her I might have otherwise judged if I wasn't an actor, and so I read that and I realized in that and in playing her that she is just like every single one of us. She
Yep.
is human and she is raw and she's beautiful, and she, like every single one of us, wants to ultimately what everyone wants. They want to love and they want to be loved. And she wanted that from Abigail's character and from just generally, or from like whoever it would have been in that moment.
Yeah.
And I saw someone who was raw and beautiful, and maybe I wanted people to see that she is human and to play her in a way that people realize that and don't judge her for it. And there are people out there who might be able to relate to her story either very directly or in a kind of indirect way, or they can relate to elements of her story like I could perhaps in a way, or I brought a part of me into her story. And so that to me, it was like, I want to be able to do that in a great way that people see that and feel like their feelings are being validated when they watch me play someone like them or whatever, and realize that they're okay, they're safe.
Yeah, no, well said. That's why, again, you were chosen. And that's why I was so excited to work with you. Is I often say, whenever I reach out to people that are looking to collaborate with me, do they respect the story? Like, it's not so much do they like the story, do they respect it? Because anyone can just like it and say, yeah, that was cool, that was interesting. But you took it to another level where you actually resonated, maybe not directly with Jen, but elements of her as you described. And I think, again, back to like the writing, thank you again for commending my work. But that was highly flattering when you said that you believed the words that she was saying. Like there was nothing where it was like awkward or weird for you or uncomfortable. You spoke every line and you never turned to me and said, can I say this differently, or can I change this word? Again, that's, I get a testament to my writing, but at the end of the day, I'm always looking for challenges. I'm always looking for changes, and the roles seem to speak to you, right? And I'm just so happy, again, like we had that experience together, and I was able to direct you in that performance. You're a pleasure to work with, very accommodating, very insightful too, on how we can approach certain takes. And my God, like, hard worker. There were times when you got me energized and said, yeah, you're right, let's get back into it, let's get back in, come on. Because there were moments, right, we were slipping that vigor, and we had to take a break. I don't know if you remember. And
it was a little cold. I think that's why people were getting
it was a little cold, right? But I remember because the chemistry is just as important, right? And I remember speaking to you and Abil, and I just reminded you guys like what's happening in this scene, like why you need to convey more emotion, why it's heartbreaking, to achieve all those little nuances, right? As you remember from the short, there's moments where I just cut back to you, just showing your reactions to certain things, right? Some were intended, some were unintentional, but that's the power of editing. But we achieved an emotion. We achieved evoking something out of the audience. So I'm really grateful for that. Now, having said that, with your experience working on this film, what lessons have you learned from this collaboration that have made you become a better actress, or maybe even a better individual?
I think that it was like the way when you sent it to me, when it was released and you sent it to me, I realized like this is.
Oh, Iman, could you repeat it?
Can you hear me?
No, no, there's like a huge swipe. You interrupted yourself. I couldn't hear
Oh.
anything.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, when you sent me, the link to it, I saw it and everything, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And I feel like at least my part of it, my scene of it, like we did in such a short amount of time, like a day, right?
Yeah.
But the way that it came out definitely looked like it was more than that. So I learned how to create such amazing art in such a short amount of time.
Of course.
And yeah, and also I generally empathize with her otherwise, but I think that I had to tap into a place where I had to empathize with someone again who I might have otherwise even slightly remotely judged. I don't like to judge my characters, but would have otherwise judged had I not read the script, like just her as what she does and this and that, like the surfaced values. But once I played her, once I saw her unsurfaced values and needs and wants, they're very they're actually real, and they're raw, which is beautiful and vulnerable. So I think that it taught me, again, going back to it, to how to tap more into that empathetic side of me, into a character that, yeah, I might not have otherwise been as empathetic, but would have still, but you know what I mean.
No, for sure. So are you saying that if you didn't read the script, if you just watched it as a viewer, you would still judge the character?
Not
Or
even sure, like if you gave me Jen and what she does, like her job and what
of
she
course, yeah.
away from and all of that, and even that in its own, which is great because it taught me more empathy.
Well, no, though that's my job as a writer, right? The best writers, they say, are always challenging the narrative, always challenging the audience. It's like she comes from this dark, dingy, dishonorable past. Would you side with someone like this? And then as I write, that's why the dialogue is very important to me, as you kind of, and also for the purpose of the short film, because we can't really show through visuals, but as you see, the fear on her face, through her eyes, and you hear that, this is not something that she's choosing to do. You don't even know her past. You have to use your imagination. Like, how did she even end up in that situation? It's kind of like all that matters now is what she wants to do going forward. And that's a lot of that a message that kind of always comes back to me. So it's not about where you're from, is all that matters is where you're headed. And that's how I kind of treat my characters. It's like, we shouldn't judge them on like their past. Back to what you were saying, we shouldn't let those things define them. What matters is, in this moment, are you looking to be a better person? And it's a very touching story that way, right? In a way, it's like, she's accepted her past. She knows where she's wrong. So much so that she's willing to continue it, not to jeopardize the safety of her boyfriend, right? And that he doesn't have to get in harm's way of getting financial means. But it's poetic in a way, right? Where it's like, whatever happens to her doesn't happen to him, right? So
absolutely. And to add to what you're saying, it's like Jen is and I saw this in her, and of course I created my own like little story for her, my own little background to her that I won't mention, but
right.
I think it shows.
I remember this, by the way.
Yeah, I think it shows in the script as well that my backstory kind of goes hand in hand with the script, because you start to realize that, okay, she might be this, she might have this dingy, whatever you said, past, but she is ultimately in this moment, she is, and this is all that's in the script, so we don't know, maybe she didn't even want to get into her dingy past, but when you see the words on the script and I played her, it's like, no, she is just a human who's beautiful and wants to love, and she has a I depicted her as someone who has a beautiful heart, and you can see it. Yeah. And you can see that she wants to get out of this mess or whatever mess she's entangled in. And, like many of us, we've been in a situation that we might not have wanted to be in, and we might have made mistakes, but we wanted to get out, and we got out of it, and we hold shame to it. And so just like every single human, she might have had shame. And so we as people might be skeptical to understand another person whose values or whose status or whatever it is, or job might seem different from us. Like if she's if she's lady of the night,
Yeah.
then it might, open skepticism or judgment from us. But when you start to realize that she's just like you, she's just like me, she's just like that person on the street, she has feelings and she loves, and she actually has a great heart, then you start to see her as what she is instead of what she does or what she's trying to get out of as human. And we all have been in that kind of situation. It might not be the exact situation, but we've all been in a situation where we've kind of felt some sort of shame. And
Yeah.
so I don't want my characters to be someone who's looked at like that. I want them to be someone who's looked at like they're human, which is,
again, it all ties in our conversation, right? Like, and this is why you were meant for this role, because the conversations about providing more depth to a person, right? More complexity. The fact that you post on Instagram, that you go out, but you also show that you're just as vulnerable. You have days where stress gets to you, maybe anxiety, or you have days on how to overcome them. There's tips and tools, things like that. What I mean to say is you have no shame in feeling shame, right? There's no self-consciousness about it. So it all comes full circle, really, and how we feel about these things. So I can't thank you enough for this insightful, informative conversation, Iman.
good. I'm glad. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Iman, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I should say this is your second time, because the last time, as I mentioned, you were promoting Fire Escape, which has yet to be released, but we're very excited to see that. And again, you're always welcome to come back on the podcast to discuss any of the matters that are closest to your heart, the messages that you want to spread. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with you again. I feel like there are many more projects to discover together.
Absolutely. I agree. And I look forward to hopefully getting to connect again in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Iman, for coming on the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk soon.